What's up, everyone? LS is McDonald's. How are you doing?
Doing great. Here to support NA.
Does it taste the same?
No. It's way better. Korean McDonald's is way better.
Is it really?
Yeah.
When I went, I didn't have that. I mean, I wasn't gonna waste stomach space on McDonald's. I probably should have.
Yeah, it's way better. It's like it doesn't like, you know how when you eat McDonald's in the United States, you just like want to kill yourself after. You're just like, yeah, man, like this is like, you just don't have that when you eat Korean McDonald's. Like you don't feel good about yourself, but you don't have like the same amount of self-hatred afterwards.
Okay. What is it? Is it the bread? Is it the meat? Is it?
It just doesn't feel as processed, I guess. It doesn't feel like it's just actual, like it feels like you're kind of just eating real food and not like something made in a lab.
You're gonna have long stream days in the next couple of days with LCK playoffs coming up, LPL finals, LCS kicking back into 4 days again. LS, you should probably eat some healthier food. You should cook. Do you know how to cook?
No, I don't.
You know how to burn water, though.
I know how to, yeah, I can burn boiled water. That's right.
Do you have a full kitchen in your place?
I do actually, yeah.
Come on, man. It's not that hard. It just follow the recipe. Follow the recipe, and then you do it once, and you're good. And it's
my
healthier.
mom always said, if you can read, you can cook. That was her saying.
Can't read.
Okay, then you can't cook.
Okay. Yep. McDonald's it is. In case you guys didn't know, there's only 2 series in the LCS this week, so this one's going to be a banger. This is a personal banger. We're going into back to the personal stories again of coaching and playing. It's just going to happen, and when it happens, just go with it, guys. But yeah, welcome. How was your week, Dom?
Oh, it was pretty good. I mean, you know, we had playoffs going on in LPL, which was pretty hype. In LCK, we had T1 lose every single match, so that was really, really hype as well. So, I mean, overall, it was perfect. You know, I just got, you know, good news after good news. I was excited every single day to stream. So, yeah, it was solid.
Does T1's failures hurt you still? Or did it ever hurt you, LS? Or does it infuriate? Are you still as invested?
Oh, do I get bothered when T1 loses?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I still talk to Joe Marsh every week.
But okay. Why does it still bother you?
I still had some of like the closest relationships or like conversations that I've ever had with a lot of T1 staff members in esports. And a lot of stuff that a lot of the people that are on like the upper management and staff are still there. So I know a lot of the stuff that goes on. Yeah. I mean T1. I mean, I still consider like T1 like family.
Okay.
It's probably the only time. It's probably the only team I've ever, like in my 19 years or whatever in esports, right? I've ever really felt that way.
Yeah,
it takes a while to get to
it bothers me a little bit when T1 loses. So I have this thing. I have like this condition, and I wish I was joking. Like I'm telling you, this is 100% serious. Now, what happens is every single time T1 loses, I wake up. For some reason, like I just wake up whenever they lose.
Like
so like I
sleep?
could get an extra hour of sleep. Like for example, in the KT series, you can go back to my Twitter. I tweeted at 3:19 in the morning my time. LPL starts at like around 4:15. There's like a intro and it starts around 4:15. So I set my alarm for 4:05. There's no way I would wake up at like 3 normally. But whenever T1 loses, I just like wake up. It's like I just sit up in my bed like the fucking Undertaker. and I just don't know why I'm awake. And then I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I awake right now? Like why? I just like start getting like adrenaline and stuff. And I don't know what's happening. And then I check my phone and it's always the T1 lost. So because of that, I got like 1 hour less sleep. Like I already went to sleep at like maybe 10, 11 p.m. at night, and I had to wake up at 4. But I only got 4 hours of sleep because when T1 lost, like I'm waking up at 3 a.m. all the time. So like at least if they could lose, if they could just lose in 3 games instead, it would really improve my quality of life. Them getting like 2-0'd in, you know, 2 hours combined time, it's really bad for my sleep schedule. So that's a little bit bothering when T1 loses.
Respectable.
Is that how it manifests for you, LS?
Some days after they lose, depending on like if I end the stream or something, sometimes I'll talk to Joe after. But that's about it. I mean, obviously I watch all of their games. I don't really I don't talk to them directly anymore, right? But yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I still get really bothered.
I was just thinking,
it sucks.
Dom, because you have your CPAP, it's like
Yep.
That's what I just imagine. It's like when you like get
No,
up, it's
see,
like
my
some, like,
CPAP
Star
is
Wars
like really
shit.
like it's just like quick. Like I don't know. It's like a one band. You saw like did you see the actual mask?
Yeah. No.
It's like a
I didn't
little
see it.
like
What does a
it's
CPAP
just like a
look
little
like?
like nose thing. It's like this big. It's like this big is like the nose piece.
Oh, it's not like a full this thing.
No, it's like there's just it's called
Like a
nasal
pilot?
pillows, and it's like this big. It just goes right here, and then that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, so when I wake up, it's just like I wake up and I don't know why I'm up, and then I just tweet out a smiley face every single time.
Is it uncomfortable?
Everyone else says it is, but for me, it's like completely fine. But I'm a pretty deep sleeper. I've always been pretty easy. Like I can like sleep through mild discomfort. So yeah, for me, like I had no problem with the CPAP. Like I started using it about 10 months ago at this point, and like I had no problems with consistency or anything. Like I still use it every single night, the whole time I sleep.
In order to not need it, you just need to get surgery, right?
I mean, it depends. It depends. Like, there's sleep apnea. It's like it could be caused by a lot of things. It can be caused by like weight gain. It can be caused by just like naturally, like just your body, like just not breathing correctly. It could be caused by nasal obstruction. I mean, there's just a bunch of like things. But I think I've had it like for a while because I would always snore really loud and I would have headaches when I woke up pretty frequently, starting when I was like 27, 28. So there's like I think the cure is just using the CPAP, and it's just 100% effective. So it actually just cures it instantly. So it's no problem for me.
Yeah, for me, I think it's tonsils. My tonsils are pretty large, and so I'm trying to get my tonsils removed. It's just a process. The doctor's always like, oh well, anytime you have general surgery, there could be complications. I'm like, just take this out, man. Take this out.
Wait, really? They won't remove them?
No, because it's there. It's like I'm not sure if there's extra function of your tonsils, but they're there to physically prevent things that aren't supposed to be in your mouth, like to go in, basically. Like if like
Yeah,
a
but
fly
you
gets in
can
your mouth.
tonsillitis. Sometimes they get removed.
Yeah, I don't have it a lot. I have there were times where I got tonsil stones where it's like like it's
Why not?
pretty disgusting. Like little
Travel to like Korea
food
or something.
gets stuck
and
in
get
your
them
tonsil
removed.
and it like creates like a crevice. It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
That I just want them out. I want them out because I think that would help. And being a single guy that snores is a very tough sell. Very tough sell.
Yeah.
All right. Shout outs to Disguised Toast, the Disguised team. I don't even know what they call their team. Disguised. For the reverse sweep in the NACL upper bracket finals. They'll await the winner of Fear versus the winner of EG versus EG Challengers versus FlyQuest Challengers. So there's our NACL shout out for the day. Congrats, Fake God, former MVP candidate, Fake God.
Jesus.
I know it triggers you so much, Dom.
Jesus. It was oh my god, that guy was such a fraud. But he's actually
Now
playing
he's
like
the best
well
player
now,
in
I guess.
NACL.
Yeah, I mean he might be. I mean, if you look at the matchups, I mean you essentially just have LCS matchups from last year, right? It's just Fake God versus Philip. Like, I guess they were in different splits, but that was the match, bro. It was Fake God versus Philip.
Wait, LCS didn't have co-streaming last year, right? It was only Super Weeks.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
But weren't you like doing live viewing?
Yep.
Jesus.
During all of LCS, yeah, I live viewed everything.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah, like I don't know why I even did it. It was just kind of like to keep the routine. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty great. I mean, I don't know if it was good for me to do it, but yeah, I would do it. I would be there with like 3,500 viewers, which is now like, I guess, how it kind of goes when you co-stream LCS these days anyway. So I was just preparing myself.
Yeah. No, I mean, but LCS is like, I mean, it's fine, you know, in the sense that I don't think it's gonna ever get worse.
Okay.
No, I'm being serious. I don't think it's gonna get worse than this. I don't think, like, I think that we're at its core. No, kind of like StarCraft is.
Oh, I see what you mean. I agree. I think that, you know, with some of these decisions, a lot of leadership did their hardest to screw the viewership, which they did, but there's still this baseline that's here. And I still, it always comes back to, hey, can we get a result at the World Championships? Can we get something to rally behind? And I'm watching the World Cup. It was the same thing. I did my shout outs for the Philippines last week. They won their first ever World Cup match. They scored the first goal and beat New Zealand, the host country. And it was historic, like all across like Filipino media. They became instant celebrities overnight. The impact on how many people signed up for the tournament within the last week, like tournaments in the country, like shot up. It's the same thing. It actually, being a North American League of Legends fan prepared me being a Filipino women's national team fan. Because then in their final game where they could have qualified out, they got their face kicked in like 6 or 7-0. It was pretty demoralizing. But you can always hang your hat on the fact that they won, they made history. Same kind of thing, I think, here with North American League of Legends and North American teams playing at Worlds. If you find some success, you bring some people back. You make people say, man, I want to do that. Man, I want to replicate that. Despite the fact that it's a lot of the same, not everyone, but a lot of the same guys that have been here the whole time. And we get an extra slot with a fourth team. So I think that's actually a good point, LS. Maybe this is the core group.
This is rock bottom. We are in rock bottom currently.
Yeah, I don't want to say rock bottom, but yeah.
It is kind of like we are in a really weird state because you have you have a team that should have been hype, one of the most hyped teams for the year, which was FlyQuest, just completely fail. So they're not even in an 8-team playoff. So that's obviously not good for viewership. If they were competitive, it would be good for viewership for sure. And then you have like a mix of like TSM, who has already announced that they want to leave. It's like, we don't even want to be here. So we're like moving to another region. They announced that, but then they're still here. So you don't know where that team is going. I mean, it's just a very like strange feeling. You had the Korean team of Team Liquid like bring over a full Korean roster. You know, that was obviously like weird considering their results. So, I mean, it's definitely a time where, you know, it's hard to generate hype because you don't really have storylines. I mean, if Golden Guardians goes on to be good for a while, maybe you have some different, you know, you have different fan perception of them. But like when Golden Guardians is on the top of the league and, you know, like the players that people thought were washed originally, no one was really excited for that team. It's just hard for fans to be invested, like compared to the days of like C9 versus TL, where like both teams were good. It was just the battle of, you know, which team was going to come out on top. I felt like that was just a lot easier for fans to get behind because it was just, you know, like Jensen. I mean, it was just like, yeah, just Jensen playing versus, I mean, whoever it was. I mean, Jensen was like, Pope was, I guess, against them, and then he was with TL, but, you know, you'd have Jensen versus Bjergsen one split. Then the next split, you'd have like, you know, Pobelter versus Jensen. You know, you'd see them battle for years. So it just felt like, oh, you knew what was coming, and it made it more hype. It's like, who's going to win the battle this time?
Yeah. And when we think about the teams, when I think about teams with the hype, like that's surprisingly, that's 100 Thieves, and they're struggling right now too. You know, what's going to happen with Quid? Is he going to get stage nerves again? Will Closer be able to find his form? You know, is Double Lift okay with all the health stuff? By the way, I wanted to clear this up. Double Lift has been to every practice and has been pumping away at it. So he's been a professional about it. Someone DM'd me and said, you know, we brought up, hey, is he, you know, if he's healthy, is he able to continue to work at the same level? Apparently he is. And then with his personal time is taking care of whatever's happening. So, you know, hopefully he's okay. And it hasn't affected his work. But like 100 Thieves is one of those popular teams. So, you know, I wonder if Cloud9 fans are tired of winning at that level. You know, they're like, great, you know, Golden Guardians, does it require another team to win to make the championships feel as sweet? Because Team Liquid, it felt like during their dominant run, they were earning it every time, you know, as you were making the point here. Because I'm looking at these rosters, and it's kind of funny to think if you're what kind of fan you are based on the team that you support right now, right? NRG is the friendship, you know, USA team or whatever, even though FBI and Ignar are on the roster, like Dokes, Contracts, Palafox, these are your vets. This is the last year they're going to be together if they don't get over the hump, in my opinion. You know, Evil Geniuses, like, you're a JoJo fan, and then or a Revenge fan, and then you happen to follow the rest of the team. Golden Guardians and Cloud9, I think those are fan bases that seemed pretty locked in. And then Team Liquid, that's a weird team too, right? Because it was the Korean team, and then they're like, APA, get in there, you know? And now it's like, they're a young team. You're a fan of Summit. You're a fan of Core. Like, I'm not sure what that is. So a lot of this,
it's hard to be a fan of Core these days. It feels like Core is like, yeah.
Yeah, Hilly JJ. Yeah,
Hilly JJ. I mean, I don't know. When you're watching TL games, it's like, you know, it's hard to realize that this is the same person that was playing in like 2019, 2020. He just looks so much different. Like, it's like a little bit sad, to be honest, I would say.
In the studio, this is reading way too much into it, I know, but I was at the studio. Got out of the press box and sat in the stands to watch that TL versus NRG game. Everyone was focusing on APA and the way that he reacted in the solo kills or whatever, which I personally think is fine. After meeting APA, he is a very like hyper emotional, reactive person. He does this, right? He's just like, it's almost like he's souped up on way too much monster before he goes on stage. So if he reacts to something, I think that's fine, because that's his personality, and I actually don't think it messes with his mental too much. I think that's just who he is. But at the end of the game, CoreJJ was sitting like this, like he was like this at the very end, like, and I was like, whoa, that's super weird. I think he was respawning, and they still had a chance to defend their Nexus, but at that point he had slumped. He was all the way down like this, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. You're the vet.
Wait,
wait,
hold on.
Like, Summit and Kyoshik are gonna listen to you, and that, you know,
you're gonna try to find it, LS.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find this right now. What the hell?
Yeah.
TL game 4.
Yeah, game 4.
It was game 4. It was the end of the series. They might not have him on player cams because, you know, it's the winning moment. They move it out of the way. But he had died earlier and was coming back up, and actually was alive for like 10 seconds afterwards. So, you know, if they ever pan to, I guess, Ignar,
I'm looking right now.
You would see.
Wait, no, he's still dead as the Nexus is dying. Degon, are you out here lying to us?
I'm pretty sure. Well, either way,
Degon,
go find his
Nexus has like 2
find his
HP.
player
Like,
cam when he died.
Oh yeah, yeah. The Nexus is dead. I mean, he's up, and
Nexus
it's
has 2 HP. Degon in his early season games is like winnable.
Yeah.
I mean, Degon is just a hopeful person. Do we not know this? Like, he's still positive
so
about it.
Optimistic and hopeful.
But he looks mega tilted. He looks like Tyler Wood after like 30 hours into a stream. You know, like when he does those like end of the year streams where he's like, this time I definitely end Challenger, and he starts his stream like 100 LP away, like 45 hours to go. And then you tune in 30 hours in, and then it shows like his record at the top, and it's like 11-27, and you're like, what the fuck happened? You just see just a little bit of fucking Tyler One's balding ass hairline. You just see like just this like little sliver of his hairline. That's all you can see, and then just the chair behind him. That's how he looks.
That's how he looks. So, I mean, I compare that to, because the season's not over yet, you know, and maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I just feel like Core is such a professional, and he's so stoic, and he's, you know, he's the leader for everyone. That's tough to see your leader like that. It's hard not to think like, God, we can't play anything. I can't play through mid lane right now. Pioshik is pretty AFK. Jan is playing. I think Jan played well again. He was just playing safe. There wasn't a lot for him to do. and I'm just here. It's another year that we're not getting closer. Like, I'm worried that kind of reaction means that maybe Core's almost done or something, you know? He's no longer the Captain America that wanted to bring a world championship. Remember, there was that whole, like, they were going to Worlds. He's like, I want to make North America great. They can do it. In 2019 or 2020, it was like the
Does anyone
series.
actually believe that?
I did. And even if you didn't, you needed someone to be that person for North American League of Legends, and it was Core.
Sure.
Core was leading that way.
Yeah, I mean, he looked internationally competitive. I'll say, like 2020, for example, when he played against like Suning Korea, like he could win you a game on the international stage with like early he would just dominate a fucking whole game. And maybe it's not consistent enough for a team to be able to like win Worlds or make a deep run in Worlds, but like we don't have anyone close to that anymore. Like, well, I guess we'll see at this World Championship, but I mean, it didn't feel like there was that at MSI for sure. Like there was no player where you're like, damn, this guy is like just good enough to fucking run a whole game from start to finish, you know, with one champion that they're super good at. So for CoreJJ back then, it was Set. You know, he would play Set support and it's like, damn, okay, we're kind of in it. You know, okay, we lose a tie break. But when you look at that group, I mean, the group that he played in that year where they went 3-3, I mean, that's a G2 Suning group. That's two semifinalists, one finalist and a semifinalist.
You just said Set, right? You correlate Set with CoreJJ, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I do too. So on the co-stream this past weekend, I had fucking Revan on, and I can't remember who else it was that we had on. We had Revan. We had, what was it, Trimby? And we were talking about CoreJJ Set. Apparently, he only played 2 games of Set.
No. Yeah, but I
in
mean,
2020, it doesn't make sense, right?
I think, dude,
I feel like I'm having like Mandela effect.
Thresh and Set, but.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, I thought he had tons of games of Set, but apparently he doesn't have games of Set.
I mean, it's not that like for me, it's not he has tons of games of Set. It's just that like he had one really insane Set game against a top team. That's why for me.
I know. But what I'm saying is like I had memories that I thought like he was always playing Set. You know what I mean? Kind of like he was playing Thresh and Braum and stuff like that. But apparently he only has 2 games of Set. 2 years in a row.
Two games at international though is he has 6 total throughout his career, but that's again nowhere near as much as we thought compared to other champs. It's 2 at Worlds.
Really weird.
2 in 2021 and 2 this year, which was this past weekend.
That's crazy. Yeah. I don't know how. Like me and Dom have the same exact like memory of like correlating him with the champion. I don't know how that is.
I mean, I correlated. I don't know if I thought that he had a ton of games on it. It was more just that I remember he had a very iconic game on Set. You know, like it was like, I mean, TL versus G2, that was 2020 G2, right? Like that was in that era of like, oh, is G2 one of the best teams in the world? Like you didn't really know that. I mean, they went to World Finals, they made semifinals this year. You know, they won both splits again. They had won 4 titles in a row domestically. So being able to beat that team, like to run a whole game, that meant a lot. I mean, I guess if I were to say if I was like, who's the biggest Set player, it's Huhi for me. Like Huhi is the guy who played so much Set. I just remember CoreJJ having really big moments on the champion.
Core, just because this is pretty impressive, and I guess it just reminds us how dominant Team Liquid was. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 champions before having a losing record on a champion. And these are all his most played champions, not his winningest records. His most played champions, his top 16 champions, all have a positive record. Can you guess the first? His next 2 are, one is at 80 carry, one is at support. What champions he has the lowest win rate with? So,
I already saw it. So.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm on Games of Legends too, Degon.
All right. It's Lucian and Nami. It's just so fascinating that Tom Kench, Braum, Rakan, Nautilus, Zyra, Thresh, Karma, all just winning records and has played the most.
Well, I mean, it makes that like the Lucian is just. I mean, he played on Season 5 Dignitas, where I was just like beating his ass perma, so it was like very hard for him to get wins. And then Nami was last split when they were, playing it. It felt like every game they would play Lucian Nami and they would just perma lose. Like they just never were able to win, no matter how the lane went.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into this series a little bit here. CoreJJ and the rest of TL fall to NRG, who's now 1 win away from going to Worlds. They fall 3-1. It was, I think, the big story that everyone's going to talk about here. APA in the mid lane, although having 1, maybe 2 solo kills on Palafox, overall looked shaky. And also, the other big story, they also had the best player in the lobby. They had the worst player in the lobby and the best player in the lobby, Summit, who just was so much for juggle and handle. Like, too much juggle and handle, but the team couldn't figure it out. Dom, what did you make of this series?
I thought it was surprising. I thought TL would show up in better form. I mean, since we talked about the CoreJJ topic, I mean, the reason why it was brought up is I think CoreJJ had, like, a horrible series. Like, I think that he just played terribly, and it's weird because I guess because he was so good before, he just doesn't get like the same level of criticism as other players do. But this was a series to forget, and obviously people are going to look at APA, and APA had a bad series as well. Like APA might have been the worst player. Yeah, he might have just been the worst player in the series, but he's somebody who's played like 9 games in LCS, and he's just now playing like, on the big stage, like he's playing in playoffs. Like he was literally somebody who, I mean, he tweeted out 8 months ago he wasn't even on an academy team yet. Like 8 months ago, he was still in college at Maryville University, like trying to compete in like proving grounds and shit like that. He wasn't somebody who was supposed to be here. So when I look at a series like this, the people that I expect to step up in big moments are the veterans. It's like you have 2 world champions on your team, and Pioshik was fucking invisible this series. I mean, he was pretty bad in the first couple games, I would say, as well. And then CoreJJ was just having a stinker of a series as well. And that to me is the biggest issue with TL is like, how are your veterans, like the people that are like, you guys have won Worlds, like how are you guys choking in this moment individually, like when it comes to how Core played and how Pioshik played? I mean, Pioshik actually had a pretty decent split, all things considered. Like he was doing stuff, he was winning games, he was getting ganks off early, he was diving, he was playing around something, like he was doing things in regular season, and it felt like everything went away here. Like this series was pretty terrible from both of them, and when your support and jungle are both inting, it's really fucking hard for your laners to play. Like it's very hard for your laners to make correct decisions when there's no vision on the map, people are getting caught, there's always more people in your lane, like then there's more enemies in your lane than you have allies. It's just very hard for everyone else to play. So to me, that was the bigger story than APA like having a bad series. Like I think APA, definitely made some uncharacteristic mistakes. He had been playing like at a pretty consistent level, I would say, in the 3 weeks before this. But that being said, like you just have to play. Like if you have these guys, also think about who's getting fucking paid on this roster. You think Pioshik came here for free? Like CoreJJ, you think these guys are not getting fucking paid? This is TL we're talking about, and this is the performance they deliver. I was not pleased.
LS?
For me, I mean, I think the Team Liquid game 1, I actually lost my fucking mind. I thought I was going to get a warning from Riot with some of the stuff that I was saying on stream. I actually thought I was going to get a warning. I was fully prepared. I was saying some. I was
give a TLDR.
Like,
I don't want you to get hard canceled, but I too am curious. LS.
the TLDR. I mean, no, like CoreJJ. Like, I mean, I gave him the nickname Hilly JJ in the series because he was making win trading level decisions.
Oh,
like, that is how mentally incapacitated he was during the series. Like, I mean, if you told me that he was comatose on stage, Digon, like while watching him, I would have believed you. Like, I think, I mean, things that he was doing,
all right,
was not like he was solo losing them the game.
He couldn't snap himself out of the mindset. Like he was in a mindset where he's like, I'm playing set, I need to engage, right? And that's the kind of the problem with these types of team comps. Is like you can have a champion that is off theme with the rest of your champions in game, but you can still play towards the conditions of the champions that are relevant within the game. So if you have Jace Kaisa, like, and you see it all the time in LPL, like sometimes they'll draft something like a Nautilus, or they'll draft something like a Rakan, and they'll be like, okay, we're just gonna draft this, and Nautilus, maybe we just need it for lane. It'll help stabilize our lane. It'll give us some like lane pressure. So we have like Kaisa Nautilus, we have all in pressure. But then like in team fights, the Nautilus will play like backline kind of, like he'll just let the people poke until there's a good time. But
Right.
Core was so fixated on the mindset of like, oh,
Well,
I'm playing set, I can get a
there's
big
term for this.
engage.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
is it?
Joe. If you can pull up the term. No, because I brought this up with so many LCS and LEC pros over the year. There's a term. It's called functional fixedness, psychological term. You can just pull up the definition or something on screen because this is like a problem with how many people don't realize this is a thing, and it comes up a lot in coaching when you coach LCS or like LCS LEC pros, or like I even brought it up with Korean players because there's obviously it translates into Korean. There's a Korean term for it, but functional fixedness, like these players display it all the time, like 100%. Now, the thing that was having me go off on Core in this game was it wasn't just that he was doing it once. It's that he had like 5 teamfight opportunities to adjust what he was doing. And despite seeing Jason Kaisa fucking just gun them down like helpless dogs in a fight, and there's no counterplay, right, by NRG. Despite just visually having that on his screen, he couldn't fucking help himself to not just look for an engage angle and just not let Jason Kaisa win the game.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes...
I'm sorry, he win traded the game. Like, that is how fucking disgusting his play was.
Yeah, I think that sometimes, like, when you're on stage and you're under pressure and you're playing a champion, like, sometimes you will get into, like, this type of mentality, and I think it's really important that your teammates feel comfortable enough to just, like, correct your mistake. Like, you are on a team, right? Like, if you're Jason Kaisa or seeing, like, I don't know if it's just because, you know, Yeon and APA are probably the low men on the totem pole and the whole game is around them. If you're playing Jace Kaisa, you're playing around your fucking Jace Kaisa. And even if those are like your worst 2 players or those are like your 2 NA players on the team, they just had, like, one of those guys needs to at some point be like, all right, Core, just like stop engaging. Let me poke a couple times before we engage. Like, we just need to change this. And it felt like they just went along with it. They're like, all right, CoreJJ is our leader. Get in there, bro. Get in there. Start the fight. And he just kept on fucking ulting. And there was some ults where it was like, I mean, there was one where they fought in the, like, around mid turret in the jungle, blue side jungle.
Behind blue.
Yeah, behind blue.
Yes.
Where Kaisa was free hitting. Like, Kaisa was literally free hitting at the start of it. And he ulted the guy away from Kaisa, so Kaisa couldn't even, like, auto and apply, like, his plasma stacks. It was so weird to see. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's a lack of game knowledge there, but I just felt like, as a team, there's some disconnect when a fight is played poorly that many times and no one on the team is comfortable enough to, like, adjust how they're playing the fight. I mean, even in solo queue, people do this shit where you're like, yo, like, just let this guy poke, or like, you don't need to engage, or like, don't, like, you have to engage on this person. Like, people are able to adjust these team decisions even in solo queue. So it was really weird to see TL. I don't know if it's like they're very, like, you know, Core's our leader, he's the guy, so like we just kind of follow him. I wonder if that's a thing or why they weren't able to adapt to the game, because this is not some abstract team comp. I think that it's more excusable to have this type of issue when you have team comps that are not normally played, or you're playing champions that are different to the meta. I mean, Kaisa Jace is a fucking core part of competitive League of Legends on 13-14, 13-13. This is something that's been good for patches, right? AP Kaisa is fucking broken. Jace is broken. They have
AP
one of the strongest. Okay, yeah. Yeah, never mind. It's not broken. Freak said it wasn't broken. It's not broken, but it's picked a lot. So anyway, even if it's not broken, the fact that it's picked a lot means that people should understand how the champion functions. And this is one of the strongest drafts you could actually have on this patch, by the way. Maokai, Jace, Kaisa. How do you get that on blue side? Well, you get it on blue side because the other team just doesn't think that you're good enough at the champions to make it work. I just think that this is a game where you should be able to, at some point, adjust. Somebody has to, like, either the carries have to speak up, or Core just has to be a good enough player in and of his, like, own self that he's confident enough at analyzing the game while it's going on. Hey, are these engages good? Like, I'm kind of just dying for free every single time. Like, is this still good? And there was just no adjustments made.
Yeah. I think another part of the series, I mean, this comes after the series ends up ending, but Appa's apparently not very comfortable playing Jace, and he felt like playing Jace was a complete mistake, like, in the series. And he did not want to play Jace in some of the games, but the draft just shifted away from it. So that's really interesting. So I do wonder what that means for, like, his influence in terms of, you know, choosing what he wants.
That's weird if a player is like, I'm not confident on the pick, and you still feel like you need to play. I mean, you can ban Jace. Like, you don't actually need to be completely proficient on every single meta champion and every meta comp in competitive in order to be an effective team. Like you're allowed to be like, hey, we just don't. This doesn't work for us. We take the L on this champion. We ban it, even if it's blue side. I mean, we see teams do this all the time in like LEC. You even see teams do this in LPL, where sometimes like teams just aren't comfortable playing with certain champions in the game. And instead of investing all this time into working on something that you don't feel like it is that good, that might not be a condition that'll be up in the game enough where it's relevant practice, you could just ban it. You can decide for the week, hey, these are the OPs. We know what the OPs are. We know what the enemy team plays. Like, we just aren't going to deal with the Jace. We're not going to do it. They play Jace well. We don't play Jace that well. We don't want to have that be like the core part of the entire series. You can just ban it on blue. It's not like the end of the world. You're allowed to do this.
So one of the things that was shared with me in the interview afterwards with Dodo was that it was something that they had practiced so much that week, and they did feel comfortable in practice, and you know, they were running out of games to try and figure it out. That's why they shifted the draft to put more eggs in the Summit basket. But by that time, they had already given up 2 games. And they were like, you know what, let's go back to the Jace draft. It's the way that we practiced and played. Let's see if we can make it work. And, you know, by that time, NRG had multiple ways to figure it out. Plus, it felt like that whole game, it was a 10 kill to 8 kill game. You just let Tristana scale in the mid lane. He's landing poke at the end when they're trying to siege the base, but the poke's not doing anything because you didn't accelerate any lead in the mid lane. It was just, you know, nothing really. Why are you picking it? Why are you picking it? So,
I mean, there's other levels to like the reason why TL was like so bad in the series. So, I mean, if we go back to the point on game 1, I was on my stream. I said this. I said this in real time. I said, okay, with the team comp that TL had here, so they have Maokai, Jace, Kaisa. They're playing into Renekton, Rel, Rakan. And I said, in real time, Poppy is up. I said, Summit should play Poppy here. He should play Poppy, take like the 10 CS deficit in top lane versus Renekton, seed some push, and then your Poppy is fucking broken in the game. It's exactly what you need. Let's disengage into what they all have. It's a champion that gets a lot of free armor. You're playing into a bunch of champions that do physical damage. He could just play Poppy here and make the game so much easier for his carries. And then you go into that identity of like, yeah, we just have poke. We show up to objectives. Our Poppy is able to frontline, like help stifle their engage. And instead, what does he do? He goes Gnar. I said on stream, he has too much ego to pick Poppy, and he will pick Gnar. And he just ended up doing it. It's like, it's so annoying to watch because like I know what the fuck they're going to do and I hate it, but there's like no one that is confident enough to be like, hey Summit bro, I know you're like the GOAT of Gnar. I know last year when you won MVP, you beat a lot of Renektons with Gnar in lane. It's a good matchup after level 9. You can get a huge CS lead. That's not necessary for us to win this game. Like we have a Jace, Kaisa, Maokai comp. Just play something where you're going to be able to help them with this identity, and you can win the game for free. And yeah, I mean, of course, he just doesn't do it.
I'll tell you exactly what he's thinking because Max used to have these conversations with him all the time. I'll tell you, he will literally like he would say his teammates aren't good enough. He needs to win.
Yeah,
I mean that's it. He will agree with you. He'd agree with what you say, and then he says that he can't play the champion.
Okay.
Because the opponent is too bad and he needs to win lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such an unhealthy mindset, but whatever.
Yep.
I mean, I don't even know like where you start. Those are some of my like least favorite arguments to try to go about because like, I mean, how do you like if he's never willing to do it, if he's never willing to like compromise with you, how could you ever prove to him that what he's saying isn't true?
Yeah, I do want to caveat this. This is Cloud9 Summit and not, you know, current Summit.
Nah, this motherfucker is the same. Look at how he plays the game.
It's the same person. It's the same person, yeah.
I mean, he's been playing also like 5 years competitive. Like, no, I don't know. This guy has changed.
Yeah.
Just look at how he plays the lane. Look at how he plays the game. He plays the game to try to like super carry.
Yeah. That way he has performances like what he did with the Jack.
Look at what he picked. Look at what he picked. Like, I mean, there's no way that he's sitting there. There's no way that you draft Gnar unless your top laner is telling you he's going to shit on the lane with Gnar. You think that the coach is sitting there like, yeah, you know, Poppy is a really good pick for the fucking game, but it's like, it's not that great in lane. But it'll just like auto win us the game. They have multiple forms of engage. Like even fucking Azir has a dash on top. You're playing against 4 dash champions with Poppy W. Like there's no way that the coach is saying, this is what I want you to play. And then someone's like, no. Like, no. Like I really want to play Poppy. And the coach says, fuck you, you're playing Gnar. There's no way. Like that's just a player pick. You could tell that it's a player pick. Because players care more about winning lane than coaches. Coaches are always more on the side of team comps and how things work together and like how they can piece the puzzle together to have some type of like identity. And then players are always hyper fixated on early game, on lane, on like, the stuff that's going to matter because they don't want to look bad on stage. They don't want to have that negative experience of, like potentially getting shit on too hard. Maybe you're supposed to be down only 10 CS and you're down 20. Like they'd rather just be on the side where they win naturally than they have to like minimize losses.
Okay, if you look at his goal.gg or whatever, it's actually hilarious. He basically never plays tanks. If you actually look at the only instances that he did play tanks, a lot of it is all because of C9. Like his Malphite games, C9, his Ornn games, heavily Max Waldo. Everything else, there's no tanks in his match. He just does not play tanks.
So he's played 2 Ornn games. So he's played 4 games Kennen, 4 games Jax, 4 games Gnar, 3 games Rumble, 2 games Renekton, and then he has 2 games on Ornn. By far, he has 100% win rate on Ornn, 10 KDA. And then they're not looking for Ornn angles at all, bro. They're playing into... Like, I'd be fine with an Ornn there as well. I'm not sure if it was banned there. I would have to relook at the draft, but I'd be fine with Ornn into Renekton in that game as well. That's another thing that would fit into the team comp. That would fit into the identity that you're trying to play. But man, like this guy is just like, I know we're winning every time I play Ornn, but feels kind of bad. Like the Renekton is like even in CS, and this guy is much worse than me, so I don't want him to be close to my level of CS. Like I want to be 10, 20 CS up, dry humping his turret, 3 plates up. Like he wants to be in that condition so bad, he doesn't even care about winning.
True.
So, one more thing on the Team Liquid side here that I wanted to touch on. All the games on blue side, right? All of them on blue side. No swapping. Why? Why would you do that? Especially when like all the stats are slanted to red side. Like over at Games of Legends, you just take a look. It's win rate is on red side. First Dragon, first Herald, first Tower, first Nasher. Like everything is on the red side.
Yeah, I mean, most teams around the world are starting to prio red side more. It started off with being blue side focused. It started off with being blue side focused when like Static Shiv LeBlanc was super, super broken in earlier patches before it's been nerfed like a million times, where it felt like you could just pick that and win the game. Nico was also a really OP champion. It felt like if you gave either of these 2 champions, you would just instantly lose the game. But now after those champions have been nerfed, it feels like it's better to be red side because you can answer a lot of things. Like if they first pick LeBlanc and you get Maokai Jace, that should be a good trade. You can do a lot of things in the draft when like when the OPs aren't super OP anymore and you get counter pick on red. You could do a lot of things. So one thing that they do in LPL a lot is they'll like if Renekton is banned and already out of the pool and people are banning Jax and things like this, what you'll see a lot of is these Gwen picks on 3 into double ban on Gwen counters, which I think is something that you can do on red. But it seems like TL is not super comfortable with like playing all sides of like matchups and stuff. Like if they get Jace, I mean, they were getting Jace Kai'Sa on blue, so I mean, who the fuck knows? But yeah, I mean, I guess red side would make sense for Summit if he's gonna counter pick every single game, or like he's going to want a super lane dominant champion every single game. You might as well just draft it on 3. Like you might as well draft Jax on 3 and then ban the Renekton. Maybe you get an even easier game then.
Yeah, I just found that interesting. And then if you look at the bans as they evolved throughout the match, it was just a lot of counter picking to make APA comfortable. By the end, you're getting the Syndra ban, you're getting the Azir ban. Yone got dropped, so you didn't have to worry about it with Dokes because Summit was doing some mental warfare against Ogla. But yeah, let's look on the other side for a little bit here with NRG. Prio on Rel. They got Rel all 4 games. The Ezreal was pulled out by FBI. LS, you got to tweet out for my boy Juanito when they finally removed the ban and he got to play Ivern there in game number 4. How did we feel NRG did with their strategy going in?
I mean, look, I'll be honest. NRG should have lost the series. Like, I'm just. This was really TL losing. I don't have very many positive things to say about NRG because 2 of those games, TL was in such winning game states, and Core decided to just lose it. Which is why I was like saying the things that I thought I was gonna get warned for, like on stream, by Riot. And it feels bad to say that way, but it didn't make me feel good. They were self-counterpicking themselves on red. They were continuously drafting in ways that were counterintuitive in response to what the opponents were picking, like time and time and time again. That doesn't make me feel good at all. And I felt like even in the series, like Palafox, like if it wasn't for APA looking off in some of the games, like Palafox was looking okay in some moments, but overall, like Palafox, I think, is a really important piece to the puzzle for them, and I think that he was looking off. I think that, like, when NRG was up 2-1, but they lost that last game, I think it was Revan that, like, pointed out, like, it's really bizarre how hard Dokla tilts after any loss.
Yeah, he looks like, shattered.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
every
really
single
weird.
time.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
I mean, so as this is coach, so maybe, you know, like, maybe he just, like, told him, like, look real, like, now tweet out about
so
dog
as is
champions.
NRG?
Yeah, he's the top lane coach. He's positional coach.
What?
They have 85 coaches, bro. They have Demonte,
Dude, why
Apollo,
do they have so many coaches?
like Thinkard, they Croissant. They have 80 coaches. It is what it is.
Why
He's
does
part
this
of
org
esports
have so
soccer
many
too.
people? Wait,
I don't
this
know.
is like the biggest charity like ever. No?
It's the carryover from CLG. I feel like the NRG guys know. They gotta know. They have to know. Like, enjoy this here. Win. If you win, then it's justifiable. So it's Croissant, Mash, Apollo, Demonte, and Soaz are positional and strategic coaches. Juves runs the academy program, and then you got Thinkard as head coach. It's a lot. Anyway.
Yeah, I've never seen a staff like this.
They're just
10
following
people on
the
staff.
individual positional coaching to help.
Golden Guardians
I guess
is like the only
speed it up,
thing that was
speed it
close
up.
to. I remember when they had a million they had like they had, I think, a coach. They had a positional coach for every position, plus assistant, plus a strategic coach. So they were doing like the 7-8 coaches for a 5-person team.
That's where the salary was going. It was getting spread around. You're getting more help.
Okay.
Keep going. Sorry. Just finish your points on energy here. Like, okay, give an example of like themselves counterpicking on red side.
I mean, the whole game 1 draft is self counterpick. If you go in the order of the draft, like, let me just pull it up again.
Yeah. I'm pulling it up too.
Game 1, TL NRG. Round 1
Ivern,
playoffs.
Rumble. Okay.
So they open. So TL opens B1 Kaisa, and then opponent opens R1 R2 Rel Rakan. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're gonna hard engage into Kaisa. Okay. So generally Kaisa, her vulnerability is dragon stacking because Kaisa doesn't get 3 items until 25-26 minutes in game. And if you're a dragon stacking team composition, then Soul is always going to be contested around anywhere from 21 to 23 minutes, right? So if you can stack Soul against Kaisa, then she has a problem because she doesn't have her 3 items. It's her most vulnerable period inside of the game. Even if you give up 1 dragon, you can still actually have the 5th dragon fight still take place before she has her Ludens or her Leandries. Or Guinsus if you're an idiot. So that period is Kaisa's most vulnerable period, but no one drafts with, like, no one perceives Kaisa this way, so no one drafts for that to be intention, certainly not NRG. So they draft 2 champions that are trying to hard engage on Kaisa, and they just give the option for TL to body block. TL passes over, they get Maokai Jace. Okay, so now they have Maokai Jace on B2, B3. Now NRG goes R3 Xayah, a champion that if Kaisa and Jace are going poke, thematically Xayah is really weak to poke. She can't play against poke. So they're self-counterpicking themselves. So also Xayah is like an anti-engage, disengage thing, and they're picking predominantly Xayah Rakan just for laning phase, but now they're dragging Xayah along for the ride on an engage, and that doesn't make any fucking sense. So they're self-counterpicking there. And then when it goes to R4, then they pick Renekton, which then leaves TL an option to pick a tank, which would then allow them
Poppy.
to protect the Jace and the Kai'Sa. And they already have a Maokai, which means that the hard engage is getting even more stifled. So they're just counterpicking themselves over and over and over. And I don't care that TL, one, doesn't find the picks on B4, B5. It's just, it's brain damage level of bad drafting from NRG.
I don't know.
That's
All I'm
about the
saying is
most polite
Poppy
way-
is pretty
that's
good.
the most
until-
polite way I can say it.
Yeah, Poppy is pretty good
You
until
know?
Rel Rakan. I don't know, man. Like, this
Yeah,
champion
no,
is-
Poppy's not allowed, actually.
Yeah. No, okay. All right. Nar?
Yeah.
Well, how about Nar? I mean, what I thought about
How
is
about
Nar's
actually,
Nar's
you know what?
ulti
Actually, I think
is an AoE
maybe
Poppy
like
E.
Lucian top lane. Dom, what do you?
Yeah. I think we should go Kennen here. Kennen would be nice. I mean, it literally looks like there's 3 champions unlocked for Summit. Like he just has like one of those accounts where he spent all of his blue essence on Nar, Kennen, and Jax. So that's all he's got. He couldn't spend the 450 on Poppy. So like he can't pick it no matter what. Like I don't know. This is what it is.
I just imagined Rainover telling him to lock Poppy. And he says, "I don't know. I don't know."
Yeah, that's. Jesus.
I don't know it on stage.
He just doesn't own it.
All right. So
I love it.
we spent a lot of time here on TL Energy. Let's move on over. And you had Revan on stream LS. So we won't, as per usual, I will always put you on the spot to leak everything, and you will do a great job not leaking everything. You don't have to leak anything. But Energy and TSM, they go the distance. All 5 games, Silver Scrapes in our first playoff series. Down 2-1. TSM scrape it back after getting the first win in the first game, then dropping 2 in a row. And then EG, I think that was the emphatic win in game number 5, I believe, right? Was it the Stomperino?
I think game number 3 was also a pretty big stomp. Game number 2 was game number 2 the 18 kill Jax game? 2 or 3 was the 18 kill Jax game. So
yeah, 2 was
3.
the 18 kill Jax game. 3
yeah.
was the JoJo Pune Unleashed, and then 5. So all 3 wins that EG had were just dumpstering TSM. And they weren't all on the same side. Yeah, they were. All 3 wins were on red side. Let's dive into this series. JoJo looked great.
except for game 1.
Except for game 1. Game 1. He looks great in their wins, and he looks tough in their losses. That's the JoJo way. In their game 4 loss, he also 1-5. The Yone couldn't really get it going. But yeah, what do we make of this series? What do we learn from both of these teams?
I mean, I think TSM, like, they came to compete, which was nice to see. Like, I don't think that TSM has the tools. Like, they should not be able to beat EG. But when you look at how they play, I mean, I think that they're relatively creative. I think Insanity gives them some, like, interesting looks. And, you know, it seems like they are, you know, legit just there to compete with, like, the correct mindset. They just don't have the skill a lot of the time. And, yeah, I mean, EG... They did some really disrespectful things, and if they didn't do that, it probably ends in 4. Like, I don't think they need to pick Jax into Rumble. Like, I think that's a little bit scary and didn't end up working. But yeah, I mean, I think that TSM, if you really want to beat them and you just ban out Renekton Rumble and make Hanser play, you know, even his Ornn, like, if you make him play anything that's not that, he can't play Cassante. You know, his Gwen is a eyesore. Yeah, I mean, it's very hard for them to win. I think top lane is the biggest issue on this team. Chime is also, like, pretty sus in a lot of the games. I think Wild Turtle is, like, acceptable. I mean, he still has issues, but he's, like, at least decent for LCS standards. I think Insanity is interesting. I think Boogie is probably the best player on the team. He's able to at least give them some advantages. Like, he's a ganking juggler. He knows how to find ganks on the map. He plays the game well, but I think that just in general, they just don't have the firepower. Like, they just don't have any real star player that can, you know, just really just dominate a lane and get them leads consistently.
Yeah, I mean, especially given on the other side, you know, JoJo Pune can pop off, and then Revenge had the playoff series that he's always dreamed of, right? This is his moment that everyone always said, this kid has promise. Just wait till he gets on a good team, and there he has it. Multiple games where he was going crazy. LS, what'd you make of it?
I mean, I felt like in game 1 of the series, they actually should have won. It was the game where they had Rumble versus Jax, which is an unplayable matchup. And Haunter actually was really ahead in lane until Boogie decided that he wanted to end it and give Jax double buffs and a kill. So, I mean, I think Boogie for me is one of the most perplexing things. But then again, I also told Sam to replace Boogie before the season even started, and he didn't listen to that one. So I tried to prevent 2 disasters, okay? Ruby and Boogie. And I couldn't do either. So in this series, I mean, I would say Boogie was the worst performing member, I think, overall for them. I agree with what Dom is saying, though. Like, Haunter, I think, throughout the entirety of the split is actually a liability in most games. The only games where he actually looks serviceable is actually where it looks like the enemy top, like, shit the bed, not where, like, Haunter's doing something great. So I think
game
that's a problem.
Game number 2, for sure, like, with the lead that, like, when there was a point in the game where Rumble was super far ahead, and I mean, he just, I don't know, like, the way that he just used his lead was terrible. I mean, they just roam to every fight. They can never take an L on a fight. They just have to roam to the fight. And that Rumble game in game 2, he definitely has AIDS for that one. I wouldn't say that personally. Shaden, according to Shaden, he has AIDS. I would never say such a thing. But like,
I wonder, is there a penalty for that? You think?
I think that's on LCS, right?
Yeah,
it's on LCS.
They played it on
LCS.
Did Shaden say that in the post game?
No, he said that in the
comms.
in the comms. He says this guy has AIDS, and they just played it on the broadcast. I was like, okay.
I've always so you guys might know better. The referee's always listening, right? Referee's always listening.
I think that they just couldn't understand Shaden because Shaden just talks like this, like he just this guy's AIDS. They're like, what the fuck? What did he say? I don't know. Just play it. Like,
honestly, that is probably what it is in the back. I don't think they would have intentionally played something like that, or they would bleep it out. They would bleep it out. But this guy has bleep. You know what he's saying. So this guy bleep maybe. That's pretty weird. But my question was, is there like a, because the referee's listening and you know that they're listening in the back end, was there like a player conduct thing for comms? Like, did they say you can say this and you can't say that in your comms?
I don't remember. Like, I mean, when I played, I don't think that they ever told us like keep it clean or anything. They would just tell you like, like your comms like will be listened to, like they will be playing parts of this on the broadcast, something like that.
Okay, they're like Big Brother. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you there.
No, it's fine. So I mean, I do have a problem with the series in that I thought it was like LEC. So this is the first LCS series this week, right? So I thought it was like LEC, so I thought it was a best of 3. So as soon as the 3rd game ended, I thought it was over. I left.
Oh wait, no, wait, what? What the fuck,
dude? I thought it was like LEC, man. I can't focus.
Wait, how, bro? No one told you? You just like, you're ending the stream. You're like, yo, like I'm gonna leave, and then like no one was like, hey, there's more games.
I fuck it. No, listen, let's look. Everything's fine. But I will say, like, in the games, Insanity also wasn't looking like spectacular. And I think that he is like one of their saving graces this split. And then when I had Revan on the co-stream, and Insanity was like perma in the chat and stuff, they have like acknowledgement that their draft should be losing, but like Revan unironically but ironically wants to have the losing draft because it's favored in NA.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like I think this 100% makes sense. Like, there's like you can't do like the thing about Summit that pisses me off is he actually is capable of playing all the champions, and he just chooses not to because of ego.
Yes,
Haunter is not that. You cannot just pick a good draft for Haunter. You have to be like, what can you play? Like, you can't be like, oh, Cassante is good here. No Cassante, no Gwen. Like, you need to just be like, all right, Ornn, Renekton. We got Ornn, Renekton, Rumble. Like, maybe you could play like a Poppy top or like a Scion or something. You just have to give him a champion that he's not going to solo lose you the game on. So I can understand that logic. You have to do that when you're coaching bad teams. I don't think you like at this point you do. So, maybe during the split you could try to figure out some things, but yeah, I mean, Malphite maybe can work for them or something. We cannot just draft a winning draft if Hanser's playing a human champion.
This sounds like what TL was doing and tried to go against with forcing APA on the Jace pick, because in that start that APA had, all the players and the staff were like, what can you play? That's why we saw the Ziggs. That's why we saw the Tristana, and Tristana became meta in his meta, but he was comfortable on those champions. They built around it. Now they're like, okay, we gave you a whole week of practice on Jace. Get in there, and it's
like that's not how it works for players that are still trying to get things that are like new. Like that's the value of experience. I mean, part of the value of experience is that if you've spent time mastering different champions, you're able to like jump back to them really quickly. Like if you end up in a meta, you don't need, if we end up in a meta where it's like one of those like Olaf jungle, Skarner, Sejuani metas, people have played that in season 8. It's very easy for players that played during that time period. Like Yankos could play that tomorrow and just still be like he just understands the points where he can fight, how the game wants to play out, what champions need to like look for, you know, what during the game, like, okay, the Olaf is going to be pressuring Drakes early, like Skarner is going to play away from the Olaf. Like you'll just be able to snap into that mindset. Jace is not a champion that's that easy to master. Like just even from like lane phase to understanding how to play team fights, like how to position, like, you know, when you're poking, where to poke from, how to like control vision so that your poke is more effective. I just think that it's not something where you can just put a week on Jace and get to the point where it's going to be like relevant for you. I mean, Jace is a champion that, yeah, I mean, it's just not easy. It's also not similar to anything else that APA really plays. If you think about APA as a player, I mean, Ziggs, I guess, is a poke champion, but it's different. It's different than how Jace operates. It's like the way you have to play lane and everything is so different. Ziggs is like you're sitting back, you're throwing, you know, Qs, you pretty much dodge lane, you throw ult in the beginning of a team fight. It's just way different than the way Jace operates. If you think about APA as a player, he was a roaming player first. He was the guy that played a lot of Aurelion Sol. He played a ton of Talia, you know, and Jace is just not something that fits well into that. So I think that's a mistake to try to force him on something just because it's super strong.
Yeah. I would say the other thing we learned from LS's story time with Revan is, or I guess from this series, is what his co-streamers are like. It's probably how APA and Jan felt in that with CoreJJ. It was, hey, Core, we have 2 more games to play. It's a best of 5 series. Nope, see you later. It's over, guys. No one's speaking up. No one's saying, like, what's going on, man? What the fuck? Yeah. That's kind of nuts that no one told you it was a best of 5. So,
fine.
All right. Well,
nice. How it goes.
TSM, EG, quick thoughts on Evil Genius's side of how they played this out.
I thought they were disrespectful in a lot of the drafts. I mean, they drafted like, I even think game 5 should, let me look at the game 5 draft. I remember people on my stream were saying that game 5 was a losing draft for them, but I like, my take was that they would win it regardless. Yeah, I mean, this is like not even an easy draft, to be honest. They're playing like Silas into Tristana. Like, it is not a very easy way to play out, but they'll just win anyway. I feel like the Aatrox probably should have came out earlier. Aatrox is like a perfect revenge champion, and we're on 13-14. Champion is pretty strong. It's always worked well in NA. It's just a North American champion, you know. It just works here because of, you know, the playstyle. Like, it wants to fight, right? You end up in a lot of like 5v5s and shit like that. So, I thought that should have came out earlier. Yeah, there was just a disrespect overall in the terms of drafting. I mean, I guess EG, I mean, they got it done. I guess they won, but yeah, it's not a win where I felt super good about it. I don't think that Ari is a really OP pick. Obviously, JoJo's a really good Ari, and that's why they pick it. I just don't think that that's a way you're going to end up winning the split in North America.
Oh. LS.
I mean, so on Don's point about the Aatrox, I was like, in regards to Summit, I don't understand why, because Aatrox is actually, I think on Korea, like in Korean solo queue, I believe it was his most played champion, and Aatrox is broken on the patch. I don't know why Team Liquid wouldn't just actually slam Aatrox, just in general.
So good for
because
Summit,
he can play in both modes. He can be a peeler in a way, like he's hard to get through. As a champion, right? You don't want to run into Aatrox, but at the same way, it fulfills Summit's like orcish horde fucking Meagle face fucking, you know, personality that he wants to do. So I think in that regard it's fine. He got you fine.
Bro, that was really good. That was really good. I thought that was a good one.
I really, you know, I put some work into my orcish horde accent, you know?
Yeah. All right, well, cool. EG and I guess with Revenge pulling it out, maybe something that Summit can use there for TL, and some shout outs there with EG and their draft. They'll have to figure it out in their next playoff series. All right, one thing that also came out from this past week was the All-Pro votes. We put in our projected All-Pro votes, but we wanted to take a look at how it ended up shaping up. I think the biggest surprise has to be in the top lane. Licorice getting the nod over Summit. That seemed to be the biggest one, and it was the closest in disparity. I think it was a 9-point difference. I think it was 70 to 61 in terms of points, where it's 3 for first place, 2 for second place, 1 for a third place All-Pro team. What did you make of how things shook up here, Dom?
I mean, I like the results. I went through a couple of the people's votes, and there were some egregious votes that
Where
went
can
on.
I see all the people's votes? I actually didn't.
There was a link to it where there was
Here,
a
I got it.
spreadsheet. I'm not sure where I found the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I'll send it over.
You know where it is? Where is it?
Yeah, it's linked in the article. So here, I got it. Bam.
Yeah, I mean, there's some like that are like really egregious. So there was one guy that left Berserker off all 3. Like they didn't have him first, second, or third, which I don't even know how you can like make that argument. And like then he tried to argue it. Like I went to this guy's Twitter and he tried
Who
to
was
argue
it?
it afterwards, where he was like, "Oh well, you know, Berserker is not like the main like core person that the team is built around, so like because he's not the one that they have to play through all the time, like he doesn't deserve as much credit." And then the same guy had Doublelift over him, which was like absolutely crazy to me. Like I don't know how you can make the argument that Doublelift is top 3 this split and Berserker's not. Like, yeah, it just seems so
Dude,
unreasonable.
what
Stick
the
say
fuck
first,
are some
Doublelift
of
second,
these
and then
votes?
third was Unforgiven. Which, I mean, I can see Unforgiven third, but I just don't know how you can not give Berserker the nod with this level of performance. Like, is he not just the best AD carry in North America? Like, and maybe you're like, Stixay had a really good split. I can understand somebody saying Stixay is a really good split. You know, we want to reward him for that. We put him over Berserker. Fine. You know, if that's what you think, it makes sense to me. I just don't see how Berserker can be lower than second team All-Pro. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And like the argument is that, oh well, 100
should
Thieves
the
only
argument-
wins through Doublelift, and it's like, okay, but they lose more games than they win. So like, that's good? Like, I don't understand it. It makes no sense.
Wait, I don't understand. Should first All-Pro not be like in a hypothetical world if you could choose any player from the, you know, if you could
Based
choose
on
any
performance
player?
of the split, yeah.
I put my first team All-Pro players were the best player in that role. That is how I voted it. Oh yeah, good luck everyone with this eyesore.
There it is.
Yeah. So how many media are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One of the guys that always does it, a good friend of mine, peer, mentor,
How is this?
Nick
Wait,
Dracy, who was formerly of Invend and then has been doing his own thing, didn't vote this year because he didn't cover it as much. And I think that's like another educated media person that doesn't get to vote. But yeah, like taking a look here, almost everyone. One guy, yeah, so David, he's the TikTok guy, does a lot of stuff on TikTok. He put Stixay first, Doublelift second, and Unforgiven third. And then Carver, he's been around for a while. He put Unforgiven first, Berserker second, and then FBI third. So
Yeah.
again,
What? Like,
yeah, those are the only two. Everyone else went
What the hell is going on?
Berserker, some sort of.
I just
version
don't
of
see like, I
Stixay,
mean,
and
I just
Unforgiven.
don't see how you can make the argument that Doublelift is more effective. And then like the argument of like, oh, well, you know, this team only wins when this guy pops off. Like he's the core of the team. I mean, that's a good argument for like JoJo. when your
Yes.
team is winning a lot of games. That makes sense. But if your team is like one of the bottom 4 teams in the league and you're only winning through one player, but then you're like not winning that much, like how is that good? Like how is that better than having a player like Berserker who is just playing consistently well game in, game out?
That to me is more of MVP. Like you're so valuable to your team as a win condition, you can get maybe a nod there, but that's not, are you the best player in your role?
I can't even see a doubled MVP vote. Like I don't know, man. Like I really just don't understand how top 3 is not just Stixay, Unforgiven, and Berserker. Like not in that order, obviously, but I'm just saying like how those 3 are not the people you're choosing between.
Overall though, LS, what did you think of the all pro first, second, and third?
So okay, so obviously, like, all right, this is my second time saying this, so let me try to recreate my same feelings as the first time.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Definitely not a recorded episode, actually. Yeah,
Definitely.
Of course not.
Recorded.
So after we had this conversation last week, I thought about it like more because last week I said that I could not say like a third person for support, right? And in terms of like good support players, and I thought about it more. And I realized that I just directly compare Hui with Beryl in the sense that ProView used to exist. I used to watch Hui's ProView back when he used to play. I've watched Hui's streams, and I feel like that Hui's reputation in North America stems from the way that he plays and the way that he goes. Well, the way that he goes about playing is it's both memorable when it succeeds and it's forgettable when it doesn't. And then in addition to that, he's on upper tier teams for the last couple of years. And I feel like it's identical to Beryl, except for when he went on DRX. So in this regard, I don't know, man. I can't get behind saying that he's actually a good player.
Right. The pushback that I had that we said before when the first time was that he has been on top teams for a long time, and the composition of those teams have changed from what they had at Golden Guardians to 100 Thieves and the back-to-back finals, including a championship, and now finding success again at Golden Guardians, leaving a couple of the core pieces that people could have attributed the success to in terms of whether it was FBI made the bot lane or not, whether it was Closer with all the aggression and making plays around there. He has a completely different situation here and found his way to the top now for 2 splits in a row. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 splits, 3 years of being on a top team, and that team has changed twice. Golden Guardians,
sure.
It's 2 different Golden Guardians teams. I think that was the pushback that I had, not the looking at the pro view or whatever. And that's more in terms of the comparison, but the way I'm not arguing, your evaluation of
right. The thing for obviously like on a talk show like this, we can't get into like nitty gritties and pull up pro views and all this other type of stuff. But I think it's like it would be really like disturbing in some ways to value like over the years like I can already see YouTube comments or like Reddit comments or just miscellaneous comments, right? My ability to like evaluate pro views of various players over the years, right? And in the same way, when I'm making the claims about Hui, people would say that it's like preposterous, even though it's the same exact metrics that are being used to do it. I would then say that like the teams that he's on have really similar approaches, and then also, or like they're similar approaches in some ways, right? In terms of approach to like aggression, if you want to call it that, right? Especially in North America. And I also think there's just a really low floor and low ceiling to support in North America, which I think is another problem like for this situation, because it was like we were talking about last week. Support in NA does not have a very high threshold. It's a really, really fucking weak role, just in general. There's not a whole lot of requirements that you need to be a top tier support or even a passable one in this region. So it gets really weird. Now, Beryl on Damwon is interesting in that Ghost played like really self-sufficient lane champions, etc., and Beryl runs around the map with unique champions, and he has his Showmaker, Canyon, and Nuggery, and he does a lot of memorable plays, and he does that for 2 years, and then he goes to DRX, and they have the Miracle Run. Miracle Run is like the emphasis. And the really crazy thing about like the miracle run on DRX is like when we get some of the voice comms, and we know from the voice comms that like anyone with high level game knowledge that Beryl is just actually saying things that are wrong, but then the opponent's grief. So that like that part is point's weird. Now I know that Dom is gonna bring up something about Beryl on how like Dom1 is like looking totally fucking lost because this is totally not recorded. But in the same vein, I mean, Beryl is literally looking like the worst support in LCK right now. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I do not think
that's not.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, Carrier still exists.
Whoa. Fiction's gonna make a fucking video on you. Hold on. Like, oh god, dude. I've wanted Fiction to make videos on like some of the shit Carrie has been doing to like explain how like,
Yeah.
It's not that Carrier's doing something wrong. This is why he's the
best player in the world, dude, and he just like walks in and dies. It's like, all right, okay, no, I see it. I mean, I can't help myself, man. It's too memeable. Every time that we see like just carry it in, I'm like, he's downloaded their movement. The best players in the world make mistakes. And if you're able to understand their movement, you can predict what they're gonna do and hit them with a skill shot regardless. It's too insane. But continue your point.
No, I mean that's pretty much it. Like I don't think that I don't think if you take Prime Core or you take Sven or even Vulcan, right? Like sure, FlyQuest had an absolutely shit split and Vulcan still looked like bad, right? I think if you put them on absolutely bottom tier teams, I still don't think that they're looking as the same way that like Beryl is looking on DRX right now in LCK. Like relative.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, I understand
it gets really
what
weird.
you mean. I understand what you mean. I just think that like his strength is that I think he's good at knowing what his team needs to win the game. Like he's played on winning teams and he's good at fitting into like what the model is of, okay, this is what our team's good at. This is what our team lacks at. I'm going to be what our team lacks at. Right now, it's him engaging, right? Like he just needs to roam, help people find engages and, set people up for success. And he has good enough carries at the moment. And, River is just a fucking monster. I mean, he's just like, so consistently good that if he, and Gory. I mean, his mid jungle is so good that if he just plays around mid jungle and he's just there first, I mean, they just dominate the map, right? Like you just like support mid jungle just ahead every game. It's very hard for the enemy team to play. So I think that's like part. So I would have put him all pro first team because I think that he's just been effective in the games that they play. Also, I think that this is just more of like his meta than Sven's meta. And I mean, like when I look at Sven, I still think he has problems engaging. Like his engage supports just don't look right to me. Like Rakan, Nautilus, Rel, it's just not his thing. He's more of an enchanter player where he can position like an AD carry and he knows exactly what his AD carry needs to carry a fight, and he's able to do that for his AD carry. Whereas right now, we're playing an engage meta, and I think he is just the best engage support that we have currently right now. Right. So I mean, I would have put him all pro first team because I just think that he understands what he needs to do to win these games, and he's executing.
Yep.
Fudge drops down to third. Let's see what else was kind of surprising. Core takes third, and I think that's it. I think everything else kind of makes sense, other than Licorice at first team all pro. That one is a little surprising to me. I'm surprised that Rich didn't get more nods here. Or Revenge actually. That's the one. Didn't get more nods here either. But it is what it is. Them's the votes. You can check out the votes over at the LOL Esports website. Just search it. It's there at the bottom. There's a small link if you want to see how the captains of each team, the coaches of each team, us media, the 9 of us, and the LCS broadcast team. Okay, let's look forward. Time for our Esports All In segment where we, thanks to our friends over at Esportsbet, we'll place one. Make sure to play responsibly. Last week, I got it right. I picked the first game, number 1, game time over with NRG versus TL. NRG always goes long. They go long. And they went super long. It was 32 minutes, I think, and the game 1 went like 45. So Nice little hit there. Let's take a look at our 4 matches for this week. TSM versus Dig, Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves, Cloud9 against Evil Geniuses, who's getting a 4-1 odd, and Golden Guardians against NRG. Where are we at, y'all? What are we thinking?
I mean, so I'm thinking about game time over with TSM Dignitas. Like, I'm not sure if these games will end quickly. I feel like Dignitas is like kind of a defensive. Like, the thing is, when Dig wins games, if you expect Dig to win any games in the series, I just feel like when they win games, they always make mistakes. Like with an inhib down, somebody gets caught. Like, their just games are pretty rough. And the line is at 32, which I think is about average for LCS games. So I'll just go game time over on game number 1 of TSM Dignitas. I'll probably end up doing it for the first 3 games. So like you kind of, you know, it's more like a read on how the series will play out more than just like, oh, game 1 will be necessarily like a huge, just like a really long game.
LS?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with Tom. I think game timer is just the way to go with a lot of these series because I just don't see a lot of these teams. Like the bottom end teams, I don't see them ending games fast. Like TSM Dig is the best series to obviously do this with.
Well, I was going with TL 100 Thieves with the over. It's 31 minutes for that. This is a nice one. I really feel comfortable with these bets. With that type of prop. Any takers on 4-1 odds here for EG? Not any kind of win, just a series win, overall series win there. That is a pretty crazy.
I mean, they got stomped the first 2 times they played. I just feel like it's so easy for C9 to like start winning, and it just feels like such an easy championship for C9 to get. Feels like I mean, Golden Guardians like might be hard, but it feels like Golden Guardians is kind of like BLG versus JDG in LPL, where Golden Guardians just has like mental like block against C9. And when you look at the other teams that C9 is going to have to play in order to win, I think they'll just be able to stomp a team like EG. Also, EG global rank 25 is criminal, but it's fine.
That's pretty crazy. Yep. Cloud9 13 global rank.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that.
All right, cool. Let's just do our picks overall. Who do you got in TSM versus Dignitas here, LS?
TSM should win. I mean, if
I
they don't win, man, Revan's
fucking
he's homeless. All right, like that's how it is.
Okay.
It's actually really weird. TSM. I mean, can we all agree that TSM has actually just had an unexplainably good split?
Yeah,
definitely.
Like they way overperformed. But everyone on their TSM subreddit, so like obviously I'm referencing Redding right here. Everyone in their subreddit is calling for Evan's head.
Really?
It's amazing.
No way.
It's so fucking weird. He sends me. Hold on. Let me send you a screenshot. Joe can show it on stream.
Just because from what I felt, a lot of the comments on my post in the on TSM subreddit with the interview with Revan and on my YouTube channel were like, wow, this is so refreshing to have a coach kind of it was actually a little
just say the truth.
Now that I think about it. It was
exactly,
refreshing to have him say like straight up, and then also some people were like, that feels inappropriate that you're shitting on your players publicly, which is not what he was doing, right? He was giving context there, but I kind of understand. I'm looking now.
All right, hold on. Wait. I want Joe here. Here you go. I'll send it to you, Joe. Right. What the fuck? These comments, dude. TSM fans are fucking. They're a different. They're something else, man. They're something else. Okay.
Jesus.
What?
I'm surprised how dead the TSM subreddit is.
Dude, all the subreddits are dead. Go to C9. That shit used to be so. It used to have multiple daily posts, and now look.
The C9 stuff
literally
is more
there's
on there.
one post today. One post, and then it goes back 4 days, 6 days. The front page doesn't even have a new post, or it doesn't even have enough posts to go back 2 weeks. Like what?
The C9 stuff shifted over to their Discord more. They're pretty active in their Discord, I'd say. I'm
Are
looking.
they?
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you for zooming in, Joe. I was like, I can't read that. TSM calls himself a professional. Oh, apocaliptic king. There we go. That took a little while. Revan is a worthless sack of shit who should never be allowed to help coach a professional team. His drafts are so fucking horrific. The word int couldn't describe them. Honestly, all of the oxygen this man has breathed his life has been wasted on humanity and could have sustained someone of non-zero worth.
Damn.
That's
Dude, this guy's like a real Redditor. His account's 11 years old, 20,000 karma.
of course it's 20,000 karma is from the TSM subreddit, man.
Nice. Average TSM subreddit user.
Yeah.
Thank you to all the TSM fans that have supported my content with Revan and with Chime and with everyone. But this is what we think sometimes, and this is what the larger audience thinks sometimes when we think TSM fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's also part of it. Let's see. Anything else in here? I don't see anything else in here. Okay, cool. Who you got? Dig or TSM? Tom.
I have TSM.
All right.
I just think that Dig is like, I mean, there's not much going on in Dig. Also, they've been so bad since they made their support swap. Maybe Diamond was actually the leader the team needed. Like, he obviously he just doesn't have the hands, right? Like, that's always been the problem with Diamond. He's smart about the game. He has no hands. But maybe that was what was holding the team together. Maybe the brain was holding the team together because they have looked straight up bad without him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, the thing to watch there, the Jensen never missing a Worlds when he's active line. Still there until it's not. They have their first test here against TSM. Following along, Doublelift, who's been to the most Worlds, tied, I think, with Faker, up against his former team in TL, 100 Thieves and TL. How do we feel about that one?
I think
100 Thieves should
TL
never
is
be
just
able to
gonna-
win.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitive. Cloud9 over EG, and then Golden Guardians NRG.
I think Golden Guardians is just the best team when they're not playing against C9. So I think Golden Guardians will just beat them like pretty handedly. And the thing is, like, River he seems like the hardest jungler to play against in LCS. Feels like this guy just never plays bad.
Yeah. And Juan has some stinkers, but he has some great games, but he also has some stinkers.
It's coin flip.
I guess it'll also be interesting to see that
More good than bad.
Palafox, what Palafox shows up, right? And then if the mental resets here for Dokla against the first team All-Pro top laner in Licorice.
Yep.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Put in our picks, talk to All-Pro, and went in a deep dive in CoreJJ and CoreJJ's legacy, where it's at. Not done yet, and favored to win here against 100 Thieves. But all 4 matches will be best of 5 starting on Thursday. Yeah. And you guys are going to be co-streaming it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my computer allows me to. We'll see.
We are recording this episode partially because Dom was having some computer issues.
Yeah, it just restarts all the time for no reason, even though I literally only stream on my computer. But
so if there's
happens,
maybe a computer company that wants to sponsor Facecheck, let us know. That would be great.
Sure.
Real quick, thanks friends. It's been 100 videos. I put out 100 videos this year on Digon Esports, and it's been one hell of a journey. All the numbers are going up. Everything's green. We picked up sponsorships. Things have been great. So 100 videos, just thanks to everyone who watched and supported from our Facecheck family. Appreciate that. LS, what closing words?
I mean, I don't really have anything. Over.
I love putting you on the spot like that, man. It just sometimes you're ready with something. Sometimes you just hit us with the. That's when I know I'm like, oh, okay.
It's fucking over, dude. I don't have anything.
All right. watch both these guys in their coach streams. Watch my stuff over at the Digon Esports YouTube channel for post-game interviews among all 8 teams. And make sure to, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe over at the Esportsbet YouTube channel to support Facecheck. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you after we have a couple teams eliminated and a couple teams qualifying for Worlds. See ya.